So backed up against this video are going to be 3 detailed explanations on how I affect maximum and minimum amounts of contrast in multi-contrast products. I want to make absolutely sure that no matter what light source method you use to affect minimum and maximum contrast, they all produce equal results. Some are just much easier than the others. So that's the purpose of this video. Let's go right into an explanation on the filter packs and so on. So in this segment I want to explain my silver printing process. I use multi-contrast papers. Essentially that's the only type of paper that you can buy in 2016. I use the Ilford family of products, and I want to explain how multi-contrast papers are formulated, whether it be Ilford or any other manufacturer. There's essentially 3 layers of emulsion that go into a multi-contrast paper. One layer is heavily biased towards blue light, another layer is heavily biased towards green light, and the third layer is fairly uniformly split between blue and green light. We'll learn later on why those formulas are formulated that way, why there's a third layer, but I essentially want to begin to illustrate how multi-contrast papers are designed to work with different filtration systems. Here is a set of Kodak filters that have a unique color all the way from 0 to 5, and this is Ilford's version of their filter packs from 0 to 5. You can see here on this illustration, here is a Kodak, this is an Ilford number 5 and this is a Kodak number 5. You can see that there's a slight difference there. The reason for that is Ilford or Kodak, no matter who manufactures the filter pack, if they've gotten you to spend money on a filter pack, then they naturally want you to buy their paper. So it's essentially a proprietary type of filter pack in that it works best with the manufacturer's paper. But going back to the blue and green aspect of multi-contrast papers, the papers are designed to react with green light for soft contrast and blue light for hard contrast. So I'm essentially using this system. I can produce any contrast formula under the sun by just changing the amounts of time that the paper sees blue light or green light. That becomes my contrast formula. It's a very important term in my world and my way of teaching. So the Kodak and Ilford types of filtration are subtractive. In other words, these gels take a certain portion of the light spectrum out of a white light path, whereas the green supersaturates the light path to respond to the green layer or the soft contrast layer of the paper, while the blue supersaturates the hard contrast component of the paper. So while these take away light, these add light, at least the way the paper receives it. This actually becomes almost a faster way to print prints with using blue or green because it's additive rather than subtractive. All this information is in a manual that I pass out if you do come to a workshop, or if we do the video series, the mentorship program, you will have this video and this demo to draw upon. Now in another segment I'm going to illustrate the enlarger that's behind me, how that affects color in the light path, and that's the primary enlarger that I use. It has an Ilford 500 head on it. So in a different segment we're going to see how that performs with multi-contrast papers. So what I want to do now is to follow up on my discussion about the different ways to affect the light source. What you see here is a green Roscoe Theater gel and a blue Roscoe gel. The green is number 389, the blue is number 68. The green is the one that affects the soft contrast, and the blue is the one that affects the hard contrast. So what you're going to see here is I have this older enlarger. It's a Bessler 45M. I was able to outfit it with a filter drawer where I can take the green gel and put it above the negative but below the light source, so essentially you're correcting the colored light to the green. I have to, because the enlarger is so old and not quite as steady as the newer technology, I have to cover it up. But now we're going to make an exposure on a piece of Ilford multi-contrast paper at f8 at 12 seconds. Now we'll take the green gel out, and we're going to put the blue one in. Now if you'll notice, under safe light conditions, both gels look pretty much the same. So I've cut corners on each side of the blue gel so that I know exactly what gel I'm putting in at the appropriate time. So the blue gel goes in, the enlarger gets covered up again, and we're about to make another exposure. And I'm going to just put a card so that we're going to split the light. There's only going to be green light on one side of the paper, and there's going to be only blue light on the other side of the paper. And once we get to the fixture tray, I think you'll see quite a dramatic difference. And the difference that you'll see should begin to allow you to see the incredible power that split contrast printing can provide. So now I want to show you the enlarger that I use predominantly. It's a 138 Durst, and it's outfitted with an Ilford 500 head. And the way the Ilford head works is, on this side it has a 300 watt halogen bulb, on this side it has a 300 watt halogen bulb. This side projects strictly green light, soft contrast light. This side projects hard contrast light, or the blue light. Now depending on what setting you set, it's going to project light up into the mixing chamber, and it comes out, let's just say you've set a grade 2.5 on your timer. Then you'll get equal amounts of green light and equal amounts of blue light that go up into the mixing chamber and then pass down through a set of condensers and on over the top of the negative and onto the enlarging paper. In my system, in my process of printing, split printing, I use just the 0 so that it does nothing but green light, and just the blue does nothing but blue. There's reasons for that. We're going to get into that later on when we actually begin to make some prints. But I want to show you exactly how the light, when you set it for just 0, how you're going to get just one side, and we're going to set it for number 5, and we'll get the other side, just to show you how it works. So what I want to show here is I have the good fortune to have an Ilford 500 head mixing chamber. And what you see here is the way I print in my process. I use just the green light first during the initial exposure for a certain number of seconds, and then I switch to the blue light. So you can see the blue light is on the other side. There's no green light whatsoever that's happening right now. Blue light goes up into the mixing chamber and down through the negative and onto the enlarging paper. We're going to learn in later segments why it's so important in my process to print independently of one another. And right now I want to show you exactly what a grade 2.5 is going to look like. You're going to get equal amounts of green and blue illumination. Blue here, green here. If I were to change the setting to 4.5, you can see where there's more blue light here than there is green light going up into the mixing chamber and down through onto the enlarging paper. That's essentially how the Ilford head works. It creates different amounts of intensity up into the mixing chamber to affect a certain contrast grade. It's a beautiful machine. I'm fortunate to have it.